It seems like every day I open my email and see yet another promotion for a new analog EQ that will make your mixes sound like the pros, or add the warmth and sparkle of your favorite hit records. But the truth is, I don't care. I haven't bought an EQ plugin in over a decade. Why? Because I don't need it, and neither do you. I'll list my reasons in this video. But first, thanks for reaching the milestone of 5,000 subscribers. You guys have been so great with all the subs, and my new target is to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, and share and watch to the end. It really helps the channel. And use my Plugin Boutique affiliate link on screen or in the description to grab EQs and other crazy deals. Full confession, I've been meaning to make this video since I started the channel, but I keep putting it off. Mostly because of crippling anxiety about presenting the topic correctly. Do I go the scientific route, or stick with the more subjective aspects of analog modeling, or both? And if I get something wrong, you're all going to expose me for the imposter that I am. But finally, I've had enough. I'm presenting this in my own way, and maybe I'll follow it up with some more scientific shit if I get around to it. But this topic has bugged me for decades now, and I want to share my thoughts, and get the conversation going. First things first. Underneath all the pretty graphics and added saturation and carefully copied filters, one thing is true. All these plugins are just digital EQs. They're all the same, and you can copy any analog model EQ with a decent parametric EQ. This reminds me, I recently worked for a big company where I inherited complex vocal chain templates for giving dialogue that broadcast sound. In these effects chains, they had Wave's Puigtech EQ P1A inserted after several other EQs, doing some broad boosts in the lows and the highs. When I asked why this was even there, the lead said, "I just love how warm it sounds in those silky highs." And I was like, okay. I didn't have the heart to tell him that Puigtech is a bog standard digital EQ. Don't believe me? Just watch. So here's what the Wave's silky highs look like. It's just a standard parametric EQ. Yes, it's got some idiosyncrasies. For some reason, the whole output is boosted unevenly by 1 dB, and there's a steep high cut way up here around 20 kHz, which I can't imagine would make much of a difference to anyone's ears. But we can copy this with a good parametric EQ like FabFilter Pro Q. But you can use any good EQ like the free Ozone 11 EQ or even your DAW's stock EQ. There, with a few quick moves, I made my own amazing Puigtech filter. I should sell this for $300. I can save this as a preset and save some money too. Now I hear you, this wouldn't perfectly null with the Puigtech. Sure, but it's very close. Again, this is mostly just a standard parametric EQ filter at 8K. Do you really think you're going to hear the difference between these two? Let's see. Yeah, they both sound pretty silky to me. And then you might say, sure, but analog model EQs have built-in saturation or noise or non-linearities that enhance the sound. So let's look at Puigtech's secret sauce. According to the manual, there should be some kind of total harmonic distortion, or THD, which is not to be confused with the mains hum simulator over here. So let's see what saturation is happening. Yep, it adds a tiny bit of harmonic distortion at harmonic intervals. But what have we here? Those harmonics are bouncing back when they hit the Nyquist frequency, or half of the sample rate. In this case, 48K, and it's creating bad harmonics that can build up in your tracks and make things sound worse. Is that worth the trade-off for a little bit of supposed analog magic? I don't think so. I can get the exact same sound from any EQ and add my own saturation later. Why would I spend money on this? Another reason I'm dubious about the magic of analog modeled EQs is, well, here, I'll just show you. This is what most of my track EQing looks like. Almost entirely subtractive, with few moves bigger than about 3 decibels. Now, if I suddenly swapped out all these for analog emus with the same settings, do you think this mix would suddenly sound more pro? Now, I'm not a total prude, and I'm okay with doing some big adjustments on a few things. Often live drums need a lot of work. But generally, if I want to bring out silky highs in a vocal, I'll grab an exciter to add some new harmonic content to the signal, rather than boosting 12 dB on some analog clone. At least I know it's not coming with mystery harmonic distortion flavor. Anyway, take a listen to this mix. I set up the mix so I can flip between digital EQ and the same settings, but with Slate's SSL EQ clone. These are all typical channel EQ settings, so nothing wild. You tell me which is which. Can you tell the difference? Does one sound smoother and more analog? Let me know in the comments below which one you think it is. Just for fun, I'll crank some of the settings here on the kick and snare and match them between EQs. Surely it should be more obvious which one is the sweet analog EQ with more drastic settings. Personally, I prefer the Pro Q here. It sounds fuller to me and cuts through the mix better, but they're pretty close. And while I was doing this reminds me of another reason I'm not interested in analog model EQs, and it's similar to a reason I had for not liking channel strips. Check out my Why I Don't Use Channel Strips plugins video if you haven't already. The interfaces are often cramped, hard to use, and based off of gear that was never intended to be used with a computer mouse. Look at Pro Q or Ozone EQ. You can freely add EQ nodes wherever you want. You can choose from several types of EQ filters. You can resize the interface, and it's all designed for computer input. When I switch between Pro Q and the SSL EQ, I'm struck with how narrowly I have to focus my mouse movements to make moves, especially with small adjustments. I find it very annoying, plus I tend to make bigger EQ moves with this type of plugin. And hey, if I want a high-cut filter, I'm shit out of luck. And modern EQs offer other extremely useful features when they're untethered from the obligation of replicating the analog world. With this EQ, I can engage auto gain compensation, so my ears aren't being tricked by volume changes. Operate in mid-side mode, engage dynamic EQs, and much more. With the SSL, I just have 4 limited bands and a high-pass filter. I find I often don't have what I need to deal with even basic low-end EQing. When I was EQing the kick drum, I wanted to boost at 64 Hz and cut at 171, but too bad, the low-mid band only goes down to 200, so I'd have to grab something else to finish the job. I might as well start with a flexible EQ that's not arbitrarily restricted like this. Now, there's a lot to be said for limitations, and I acknowledge that it's easy to get carried away with the relatively unlimited choices of a fully parametric graphical EQ with tons of options. Sometimes it's great to not see your EQ values and mix only with your ears. And that's usually how I use Pro Q on tracks anyway. Grab a node and move it to where I want to make adjustments. Not really paying attention to the band controls until later if I need it. It would be cool to completely hide the controls and preferences, but I digress. I would say for those of you who like mixing with your ears, but with the analog style knobs, grab the free blindfold EQ. It defaults to not showing you all the values, and you can only mix with your ears. Very good for ear training, but turn off this saturation nonsense over here. I just don't understand why, in this day and age, I would want to use an EQ design that is truly outdated and doesn't work well with the user input tools I have. And at the end of the day, these are all just dressed up digital EQs, but more limited. Like if you really love that specific high shelf filter that's weirdly boosted by 1.1 dB, sure. But keep in mind you can make it at home, and is it really worth paying $100, $200 for? I don't think so. I'd rather grab FabFilter, Ozone EQ, or the amazing Kirchhoff EQ, which more explicitly mimics analog EQs with its presets and filters, and intuitively carve out my tracks how I like and add my own preferred saturation to get that warm analog vibe without inharmonic content. Or you can just roll off some highs. That's usually all you need to do to get a warmer sound, and any EQ can do that. Basically, we've already got the tools we need to make good mixes. You don't need the hype of an analog modeled EQ. It's just a waste of money. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. I love hearing from you. And use my affiliate links to support the channel. Until next time, mix well.